The night was cold, then silence filled the tiny house. A father sat at the edge of a worn-out bed, staring at the door that had just closed behind his wife. She was gone. Just like that. She left behind the man who had loved her and their 2 children, a boy and a girl, without so much as a glance back. Her heart had long drifted away, lost in the pursuit of wealth, status, and luxury. She wanted more, bigger houses, faster cars, endless riches. And when her husband couldn't provide that, she found an excuse to walk away. For months, the father struggled. The tiny house they lived in barely kept out the cold, and the cupboards were often empty. Every night, he would put his children to bed with words of comfort, even as his own stomach ached from hunger. The weight of responsibility pressed down on him, but he refused to break. Instead, he turned to the only hope he had, God. As their situation grew more desperate, he swallowed his pride and sought help from his parents. They welcomed him and his children, offering them the basement of their home to live in. It wasn't much, but it was shelter. Every morning, before the sun had even risen, he would leave for work as a construction laborer, building houses for others while struggling to keep his own family afloat. The work was exhausting, long hours under the scorching sun, carrying heavy materials, enduring the pain of aching muscles and blistered hands. But he kept going, driven by love and faith. The children, too, had their own battles. They wore the same worn-out clothes to school each day, facing whispers and stares from their classmates. There were days they had to go without lunch, pretending they weren't hungry. The father watched their struggles with a heavy heart, wishing he could do more. But he kept believing that God would come through. Then came the hardest blow yet. One rainy evening, after an exhausting day at work, he received a call. His job had been cut. The company was downsizing, and he was no longer needed. He sank into a chair, staring at his calloused hands. How would he feed his children now? How would they survive? He felt hopeless, lost. But just when he thought he had reached his breaking point, a neighbor who had seen his hard work offered him a new opportunity. A small home renovation business needed skilled laborers. It wasn't much, but it was something. He took it without hesitation. With each job, his reputation grew. Word spread about the man who worked with integrity, who gave his best even when life had given him little. And slowly, things began to change. During this time, he leaned on God more than ever. He remembered the words of James 1 verse 12, "Blessed is the one who perseveres under trial, because, having stood the test, that person will receive the crown of life that the Lord has promised to those who love him." This verse became his anchor, reminding him that trials were not punishments, but pathways to a greater purpose. Months turned into years, and step by step, he rebuilt their lives. The children learned resilience and faith from their father's unwavering spirit. They grew up understanding the value of hard work and the power of believing in God's plan. The tiny basement that once felt like a place of despair became a testimony of survival, faith, and God's provision. Then, one day, she came back. The woman who had left them. But by then, everything was different. The man who had once been broken was now whole. His children had flourished, not in riches, but in strength and wisdom. She had chased a life of gold and glitter, only to find emptiness. And here he was, a man who had lost everything, only to gain something far greater: faith, perseverance, and the unshakable love of God. The Bible reminds us in Romans 5 verses 3-4, "Not only so, but we also glory in our sufferings, because we know that suffering produces perseverance, perseverance, character, and character, hope." This story is more than just about struggle, it's about faith, resilience, and the power of never giving up. What we build in faith lasts far longer than what we chase in greed. So, if you're in a season of struggle, remember this: God is still working. Hold on, trust Him, and keep going. As Isaiah 40 verse 31 declares, "But those who hope in the Lord will renew their strength. They will soar on wings like eagles, they will run and not grow weary, they will walk and not be faint." Your hardship is not the end of the story. With faith, perseverance, and God's grace, the best is yet to come.